Welcome back, and congratulations on the 2-1, Kevin. That's got to feel pretty good.
It does feel pretty good. I really do think I could have mulled into a ley line if I'd been lucky against Andy, but no, I'll take a 2-1 in this bracket any day.
Yeah, no, it's been cool decks, cool games. What was
Yeah,
your
well,
take on the matchup against the humans there?
drawing both my plows in game one was huge. Plus the combination of snapcasters to manage them. That's the kind of thing I needed. And then in game three, it was agonized. Well, I mean, game two was incredible. I loved game two, even though I lost. But because I was still in it right till the very end to draw subterranean tremors. I really wanted to
Yep.
find subterranean tremors. But anyway, but then in game three was like agonizing from my perspective. I thought, when is the other shoe gonna fall? What is he sandbagging here? And then we get all the way to the end, and I realize, oh, it's nothing. He plays this Lotus and lets it sit there. I'm like, oh, he's holding either lands or I couldn't
Yeah.
think of any other thing. Like maybe he kept Null Rod in or something.
No,
No, it turns
he
out,
was just a little
yeah,
flooded.
awful draw from him. But I was paying
You're
very
in
close attention to
agony.
what
Matt
was.
Sperling and I are like, do you think mental misstep should be restricted? Does the format need to be shaken up?
Like, yeah, I could totally understand the commentation side of that. So, but it feels good. It
Turns out
felt good.
Magic's a lot easier to understand what's going on in a game of Magic when you can see both hands.
It
Who
turns
knew?
out. Yeah, well, Seth built a great deck, played well, and I think that humans should deserve some respect in the vintage metagame as a whole. But I really just had the tools that I needed that game or that match.
Yeah, I feel like 1 and 2 kind of undersold how good that deck was. Like
Yeah.
he took you to game 3, and then
Hmm.
he had an above average number of mulligans over the course of the evening.
Hmm.
Took you to game 3, had your game 1 draw was really good. You needed a really good game 1 draw to beat him, and then his game 3 draw was quite bad. But then
And,
against even against Dredge, he had game 2. He
yeah,
had to fade one draw step where Andy couldn't Bazaar, just got to draw off the top of his library, had to have force blue card to stop Lavinia, and then had to
yeah,
top deck Spinning Darkness. But there it was.
yeah.
I
It's kind of
mean,
like Brassman showing with that Death Shadow deck, right? A
yeah.
good deck, well positioned, well conceived, some soft draws here and there, and the record's not so good. But I agree, Seth's deck was good, and it was a good choice for this weekend.
Maybe not as good a choice as Andy made. The
Brassman.
Audible, not the shots deck everybody's expecting, but I'll go to pitch Dredge.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mentioned this to Matt too. I actually think some of the reason this pitch dredge is such a good call is the presence of Lavinia.
Hmm.
Like Lavinia is probably better against dredge than whatever card she's replacing in the deck she's in.
Yeah,
But the
but it's
archetypes
hard.
she's in are terrible against dredge in general. Right? She's not going into combo decks that can race dredge. She's going into Xerox decks, and
Hmm.
those just get rolled by dredge. Other than maybe you can win 2 sideboarded games if you have enough cards.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I like Lavinia in the sense that she's another interesting disruptive tool that forces people to find different nooks and crannies of metagaming, which is great
Yep.
fun. I also agree that she really is most disruptive only in a couple of avenues of the metagame. I don't want her against shops for the most part. I don't want her against dredge. She's mostly irrelevant against survival unless you get lucky to catch them early with hollow ones, right?
I
So,
think you do want her. I think you do want her against survival. She stops the basking root wallis too. Like
okay,
she stops the
you're right.
hollow ones, and she stops like half their deck. She stops the basking root wallis and the hollow ones.
Right.
Only thing she doesn't do anything about the guys coming back out of the graveyard. But other than Vengevines, she's actually decent there. I think.
I would posit that countering the Basking Root Walla on that turn that two or three Vengevines are coming out is probably the least important part of the equation, right?
I I mean, look, I played that matchup in week 2, and I play tested for it. Like I played
Okay.
the matchup ahead of time because it was such a weird matchup, and
Hmm.
I thought sure, I'd rather have an answer to Vengevines.
Hmm.
So put in everything your deck can possibly do to stop the Vengevines.
Hmm.
Great. Now Lavinia is your next best card
A little
because
bit
she
extra.
stops everything else. But
Yeah, you're right about that. Better than the card she's replacing, probably. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, one match of Magic left. Let's go watch it. All right, Matt Sperling doesn't have a great chance against Dredge in general. And I look at Andy's draw; he's got Bizarre into multiple hollow ones. He gets to keep 7. I mean, I guess it's not perfect. It doesn't have Well, it doesn't have a card with the word dredge on it. It doesn't have a blue card for the Force of Will yet. We'll see what the top of his deck has to say.
Yeah.
Matt's gonna
Andy's
wind up. Oh,
oh,
geez.
good grief.
Hollow One number 3 and a Force of Will? Are you serious? Matt's like, oh, Hollow One, I can Force of Will that. Andy is gonna force back and then play 2 more. And he's just like, I'm out. Hellbent on turn 1, 12 power. You can have your first turn now. Is this
This is
happening?
ridiculous.
This is insane.
This is one of those decks where if I could get these draws all the time, this would be the only deck I would ever play. But we'll see. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Matt is not going to be too put out by this. He's going to be impressed and say, "Wow, that's a heck of a drubbing." But at the same time, this is the
Sure.
game that he wants Andy to get this kind of draw in.
Right.
Right.
The one Matt couldn't win anyway.
Right. Exactly. He doesn't want Andy to get this draw in game 2 or 3. So yeah, he's gonna monkey around with probe and see if he draws exactly. If
Let
he
me see
draws
what
some
you're still holding.
combination,
Oh,
yeah.
nothing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If he draw Ancestral into Lotus into Time Walk into Monastery Mentor, then maybe he'd keep playing. But
He does
we'll
have a
see.
balance in his deck. Like his out is find the balance.
That's true. That's true. He could balance a way to stay alive for a bit, but
I don't. Yeah,
honestly,
I'm not convinced it wins in the game. I don't think
no.
it. Like he needs to balance, and Andy has to whiff on finding the word anything with the word dredge printed on it.
If Matt could actually string together balance plus strip mine here, that'd be amazing. But given what he pondered into,
Yeah,
that looked like a shuffle into a force of will to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 Force of Will is not getting the job done.
Matt's got one more turn to find
Yep.
it all, to find all the goods. Amazing that Andy drew another force of will too.
Well,
When
he
it
can't
rains, it
cast
pours.
it, but
Still,
he wishes it was a misstep. He wants to misstep the preordain. It's going to go find Matt his balance.
that's correct.
Well,
Hey, sorts the
that's
plowshares.
not good. We're already at 4.
Uh-huh.
Preordain?
Into exactly balance. Hey, he got there.
Oh! Hollow One's down. All I have to do now is beat your entire dredge strategy.
It's been a night of some fancy top decks though. Ooh, Andy found a
Oh,
dredger. It's the
yeah.
poorest one, but it's still good enough, I think.
Matt even loses a land to this. Matt
Yeah.
loses his entire hand and one of his lands.
Yep. See, balance is an incredibly fair Magic card. I can't understand why it's restricted. This is just an exercise in fairness that we're observing here.
That's one word for it.
Okay, yeah, Andy's found multiple dredgers here at this point. I
Yeah, he
don't
just needs
think
creatures.
I don't think Matt could actually stack his deck to win this game at this point.
No, Andy's gonna have to say go, but yes.
Ancestral
Whatever the
into
stack is, I'm sure it starts with ancestral.
yeah, Ancestral into Lotus Mentor Time Walk that he
Yeah, he can't cast
couldn't
it all.
cast it all this turn. That might be good enough. Dax
If he
Fade
could
does not
cast
those
it.
cards. Yeah,
Yeah, Andy's got the dread return for the Flamekin Zealot, so he wins
yeah.
next turn. He just brings back Flamekin. All the zombies get haste. Kablam.
So now we get to see Matt's sideboard strategy in action. Ravenous Trap has been, I think, going up in value lately in people's perspective as more and more people play and realize how good it is at disrupting the dredge deck, but also how good it is in a Xerox strategy where you can sometimes afford to not have one in your opening hand. And thanks to your excellent deck selection, go and find it.
Sure.
It's superior to Leyline of the Void, for example, in that capacity. Interesting that Matt
Yeah,
took out Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I find Jace to be a decent card here because if you keep that Cole Ravenous Trap kind of hand, you could conceivably play a turn 1 Jace and have your trap up. That's interesting to me. I tend to
Yep.
board out some of the slower cards in matchups like this. I'll board out one of either Cruise or Dig, sometimes both depending on my sideboard. But I'd be more than happy to keep a card like Jace Vryn's Prodigy in this kind of matchup.
It's not the fastest.
Now, Dak Faden has advantage when directly compared to Hollow One, of course, so I can see the attraction of
Oh
Dak.
yeah, dealing hollow ones is a real game.
Yeah,
He's going to
and
cut
that's why
2 of his 3 Lavinias. That sounds about
that's why
right.
Lightning Bolt is coming out because it just matches up so terribly with Hollow One.
Yeah.
On the flip side, it's interesting to see Andy experimenting, I guess, with the ratio on Spinning Darkness. because in my estimation, Spinning Darkness is of limited utility in this matchup, given that one of its targets, Lavinia, when it's on the battlefield, makes Spinning Darkness uncastable. So he's really just planning on Spinning Darknessing Jace Vryn's Prodigy,
Hmm.
which Matt just boarded out. Monastery Mentor, obviously, you could catch a Mentor in an opportune time, I suppose.
You're not going to put the card in your deck for that, though.
No,
What did
absolutely
he
not.
take out? I was looking at Matt's side. I should have been looking over at Andy's.
All I saw at the end was he had 2 Spinning Darkness in and 1 out.
Interesting. Matt left basically all his permission in. He's still got, I think, all the
Mhm.
Force of Wills, all the missteps, even the Pyroblasts.
Well, here we go. Andy, all the way to 1.
All the way to 1 keeps the lone Stinkweed Imp.
Mhm.
Wow, Matt can probably win this one.
One would
Probably.
think.
That's not a Bazaar of Baghdad.
No.
Yeah, this happens maybe 5-ish% of the time. The
Right.
Dredge deck just has to find a Bazaar of Baghdad to operate. You mulligan. If you never ever find one,
Wow, if he
well,
does
then this
though.
happens. Yeah, it's like instant. Well, yeah, instant
He
hollow
would
one.
lose some of them at this point, but
This
it's
one's
ironic
stolen.
to see the advantage bar is in favor of Matt right now, but not as far as you might think.
Dack
Because
Faden helps. The ability
y-
to
y-
steal a hollow one.
absolutely, yeah. And also just continue to loot because the first Ravenous Trap is going to be very good this game,
Yeah,
but it's
I
not.
think it's done. I don't think
Yeah.
even if Andy draws Bazaar this turn,
Wow.
like he's gonna get stripped. He's only gonna get 1 activation out of it.
True.
The hollow ones, like he Bazaars, he draws 2, he discards 3. I guess 3 hollow ones. Dax
It,
steals 1, blocks
mhm.
1. I guess the third hollow one can survive.
Mhm. If Matt was on mono bricks here, a Bazaar right now could still steal this game. But obviously, Matt is not on mono bricks. He's got access to Gush and Dig, which ought to be good enough to find him the material he needs. That looks like Brainstorm at the very edge there.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Matt simply has to respect the permission package that Andy has. He can't just play his spells willy nilly.
Right.
He, I mean, he has to respect the fact that there could be a misstep or a force. That's one of the big threats of this pitch dredge deck is that you always have to respect what they have, and skilled pilots will use that to their advantage.
Matt was hoping for non-games. It's kind of what we've had for these first 2.
Interesting that Matt pooled blue-white here. What do you think he was prepping for there exactly? He's got Rest in Peace. He's got Monastery Mentor. Seems pretty speculative though because he only has 1 of each of those things. I'm a little unclear as to why he even pooled white there. He even boarded out. Didn't he board out 2 Lavinias or was it all 3?
2. He's got 1.
Yeah. So it
He would have
appears to
just
me
gone
that
blue blue.
there were exactly 3 cards that could make use of the blue white there. He's not about to launch a Swords to Plowshares into no targets, and he wouldn't balance right there. That's an interesting choice. It looks like he's actually going to be punished for it. Oh no, he
Uh,
can play a land and use the white for JVP, so
yeah.
it's not a total loss. But in an alternate universe, he might have wanted to fire off 3 cantrips there if he'd had 3 blue. Ah, there's the second Ravenous Trap. That plus JVP plus Dak. This game is probably over at this point. I don't think Andy, given the construct of his hand, can string together much of anything. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't Ravenous Trap. It was a Tormod's Crypt. Or maybe I saw one and he put it back. I'm not entirely sure.
That is not a Bazaar. And
Yeah,
Andy's done. Yeah, I think that's a
yeah,
very reasonable spot to concede.
absolutely. Now we see the coveted game 3, whereby the 2 mana answer that Matt has in Rest in Peace, which is a fantastic answer, mind you, can be too slow if it's not accompanied by a Mox on the first turn.
It's true. Totally true.
Just a 2
I've
lander with a Force of Will and a Preordain and a Rest in Peace might not be good enough.
I've definitely lost that game from
Hmm.
the Jeskai side.
It's really interesting. I feel like the Spinning Darkness that Andy still has in is a direct respect for Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
Hmm.
I think that's very interesting.
I mean, Lavinia is not irrelevant. Lavinia shuts off Hollow One and shuts off Dread Return.
No, but my point is it also shuts off Spinning Darkness. So
Oh, right,
Spinning Darkness
of
is not
course.
an answer to Lavinia. It's
We
only
had,
there for JVP and Mentor.
yeah, it does not.
Yeah.
You cannot spin Lavinia. Maybe he's missing that the way I just did.
Well, everything's possible. All right, Andy has a fantastic hand now. Looks like he powdered into
7
Double
card keep.
Bazaar plus Force, but no Dredgers. Double Bazaar answers the no Dredgers problem pretty quickly, though.
Right, hopefully we can get back to our gameplay scene momentarily.
There it is. 2 Dredgers for Andy. This is going to be rough because Matt is going to be able to resolve the first Ravenous Trap here, but Double Bazaar is going to make up for that in rapid succession. And Matt, he drew a land. Yeah, Matt needs to find some additional business in order to get back in this game. Post haste. This is yet another one of those situations where, as I observed when you and I were commenting before about how these Jeskai decks, you can prolong the game pretty effectively with many draws, but if you don't draw the right sequence to start pushing the advantage, you'll find yourself in the mid game with very little action. Andy doing a good bit of aggressive dredging here because he's got the force of will. He feels very confident in it. There's the risk of overconfidence here.
Yeah, I mean he's got wow.
Also, he
He's
managed
down
to
to
do all
20
that.
cards in his library.
He managed to do all of that without hitting an Archamoeba because he's got the 2 in hand. Looks like, oh, I'm
He's
unclear
just
what
going
happened.
for it here.
Yeah, this is
He's,
really there's an interesting tension here.
he's played the second Bazaar. I think he thinks Force of Will blue card means he's safe. Maybe he's not thinking about Ravenous Trap. Maybe he's not playing around it enough. But Andy's library is all but gone. Like a lot of times, the way a
He has
skilled
8
dredge,
cards left.
yeah,
He's going to get trapped here.
he's going to get trapped, and this may be the blowouts. He's going to get trapped with Force of Will backup in particular.
Right. Unreal.
Right. I mean, this is not exactly Andy's most commonly played archetype, right? This feels like this is the way everybody plays Dredge the first time you play it, right? Not the first game, but
right.
You're like, I've got my Force of Will, and the most skilled Dredge pilots, somehow they always manage to put enough in the graveyard to bait out the hate card, and then they can still rebuild. They have enough library left to actually still win the game, even after a Tormod's Crypt resolves or a Ravenous Trap resolves. But I don't think Andy can win. He's got 8 cards left in his library.
That's incredible.
Just burned through his library so effectively there that his bet was, I've got a Force of Will. You have to both have it and be able to defend it, or else I win next turn. And Matt both had it and could defend it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Not enough
What
library
a
left
conclusion. What a bombastic conclusion. And so unusual for Dredge to go that deep on turn 2, get 0 Narcomoebas. Now, the 2 in his hand had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
But just have no gas in a situation like that. That's highly unusual.
Right. I mean, if Andy had gotten another turn, he had plenty of gas. It would be like, here's Icarid, here's another Icarid. Oh, here's a Dread Return, kill you. His graveyard was definitely lethal. But yeah, I guess his plan was, if he had hit Narcomoebas, he could have Cabal Therapied. And then maybe he can actually clear a path. Now, that's going to trigger the Ravenous Trap. The whole thing's still going to happen. I don't think, even if he hits Narcomoeba, I don't think it helps him.
Well,
if he hits Narcomoeba off the first Bazaar, then he doesn't have to play the second one.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I think he might be able to slow his game down, but also he gets to.
But I mean,
he might be able to get to
anyway.
Put a Cabal Therapy onto the stack right there, which could change things a bit, because then the Ravenous Trap fight, he could force it to happen right then.
Yeah.
Before playing the second Bazaar, to your point, and that would have changed a lot.
But he could have just not. He could have just not played the second Bazaar.
I know, but I can't fault him for his line, having the Force of Will back up there.
I think the Force of Will made him feel safe in a spot where he was maybe a little more fragile than he realized.
Yeah, interesting.
As a result, though, it means we have no 3-0 this week. Right? Andy is 2-1. You are 2-1. Matt Sperling gets himself up to 1-2, and Seth, better known as Saffron Olive, gets himself up to 1-2. So nobody's eliminated. Nobody runs the table. Everybody's still live for playoffs.
We're all live for the playoffs. It's a good feeling. I like it. Means there's more on the table next time we all come around.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe Matt won that.
That was pretty extraordinary. But hats off to Andy for deck selection and deck construction in his play
Yes,
tonight,
for
because
sure.
he really did position himself well, and the 2-1 shouldn't be a disappointment for him.
And he'll be back at it next week. He is the one player from tonight who runs it back. We've now completed our first round of games. Everybody has played one night. Everybody has 3 matches in the books. Next week, we all start through the second trip. Andy will be back. It'll be Cyrus Cormagill, Andreas Peterson, and Seth Manfield joining him, all of whom are, try to get to the playoffs. These guys are all in decent shape, right? Seth is 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Andreas, I believe, went 2-1. And did Cyrus also go 2-1?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. So all of these guys are at least 2-1. Yeah, Andreas confirmed 2-1. Cyrus confirmed 2-1. And Seth was 3-0. Crazy.
Yeah, this next week is going to have major implications on the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that had a good showing the first time around. So that should be fun. And there is the only deck building restriction that we have this season on VSL is that you can't play the same archetype in both your regular season appearances.
Mm-hmm.
So Andy cannot bring Dredge, Seth cannot bring a Xerox deck, etc. You got to mix it up. Perhaps more relevantly, Cyrus cannot bring a Dark Ritual Storm deck. Like, he can play PO if he wants to. Like, he's not forbidden to bring combo, but he's not allowed to bring a Dark Ritual Storm deck.
Yeah. So, tell me what you think the over-under on Andy playing workshops next week.
Wow. I mean, like it's got to be 90%. I mean, maybe you could talk me down to 80. He does know he's expected to play it. Yeah. So there is a legitimate incentive for him to not play it, in that he's expected. And if you look at people's sideboards this week, right, Matt and you both had main deck Fragmentize.
Mm-hmm.
Matt had multiple Stony Silences in there, which, yeah, they're good against PO, but I mean, you also want them against workshops. Maybe he wants to try to strand some sideboard cards, because everybody's going to have him at 70-80% likely to play shops. It's a good point.
I don't know. I think his 2-1, his high side 2-1 performance this evening probably has a little bit to do with his deck selection next time. He might be pretty inspired to roll in with Paradoxical Outcome or something else that, again, as you said, strands more sideboard cards and catches people unawares. It worked very well tonight. I really like that gaming aspect of this format, where you have some very well-known deck specialists mixed in with players who have a broad range, and it produces some really fun discussion and results.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll find out next week. Andy will be back. I'll be back. You guys will be back to watch us again. Hopefully you have enjoyed hanging out with us tonight. We've certainly enjoyed watching these games. I thought tonight's decks and matches were super sweet. We'll see you next time, Kevin.
Thank you, Randy. See you then.
See everybody else. Same time, same place next week. Goodbye. Good night from Vintage Super League.
Good night.